Hey guys, welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Today I want to bring you something slightly different. I want to bring you more of a presentation style video about a word and a concept, an idea which I've seen a lot of people throw about recently, and I think it's a good concept. It definitely exists. It definitely is a big deal in Heroes of the Storm, but not many people have gone to the lengths of attempting to explain it and kind of put across how to do it, how to avoid it, and just generally what it is. So today I'd like to talk about noob stomping, how to do it, how to avoid having it done to you, and generally what it is. So first off, what is noob stomping? A lot of people will say that, oh, it's great fun to play Zeratul, Nova, or a lot of other heroes, and go into quick match and noob stomp heroes. And basically what it is it's when you take advantage of one or two people on the enemy team that are just either inexperienced at the game or don't know what your hero or another hero on your team can do, and just take advantage of it and kill them time after time after time, to the point of which they are basically no longer a problem in the game. And this can be done during the laning phase, it can be done when they're securing objectives, it can be done when the team is split up, a la Dragonshire. It can be done at any point during the game, really. And it just means that you get into a position and you kill someone and then you move on, kind of thing. And only certain heroes can do it, and it can only really be done to other certain heroes. So, for instance, you can't really have a Chen taking on a Diablo and call it noob stomping. It just wouldn't really happen like that. But there are certain heroes that can really exploit the inbuilt weaknesses in other certain heroes' abilities and just their general stats, and really take advantage of it and really make a big difference in the game. And that big difference is displayed through number of kills, objectives secured, experience lead, winning the game in general, just stuff like that. So, who can noob stomp? Now, a lot of people are going to say that anyone can noob stomp, and I do agree with that to some extent, but there are some heroes that are just significantly better at it than others. So I believe it comes down to 4 types of heroes that can do it, and depending on what type of hero you fit into, you're going to need some assistance from your team in some regard. Now, the first type of hero, any hero with reliable hard CC and moderate to high damage. This means, I say reliable, what I mean by that is I mean a skill shot or an ability which, while it can't be dodged, or while it can be dodged, either way really, it's very difficult to dodge in a position where you have to run away. So I'm talking about heroes like Kerrigan, like Tyrande, and like Kil'Thas, slightly unorthodox picks here, but they can do it in principle. They can get into a position, stun someone, and then have them and preferably the other person, whoever's also in the lane, attack that person until they die or until, well, normally you're going to want to secure the kill. So basically until they die. The second type of hero is any hero with what I would call soft CC and high damage. They have to have high damage in this situation because the hard CC, the stuns and roots, really put someone in position for a while and they can't get out of it for a few seconds. Soft CC, they will be able to move and they can juke skill shots afterwards, whereas in stuns you can chain stuns together because you can't move during the duration of a stun. With a slow, you can juke another slow, or with a reposition you can juke another reposition, and as a result of that you need high damage to make up for the fact that your character, the person that you will be attacking, will be able to move over the duration of your CC. The other type is any hero who can stick with a target for a prolonged period of time. Now this is kind of an unorthodox one, but any hero that can continuously get behind a hero or that can body block them continuously while dealing significant damage, yeah, you're really going to need that high damage output if you're doing this as well, because in this I'm talking about heroes like Illidan, I'm almost talking about heroes like ETC, but just they need a significant amount of damage to back this up. But any hero that can really stick with a target, it makes it incredibly difficult to get away from, and that acts as a very small amount of CC each time. But if you can continuously put that on, as well as the damage that you're putting out, and hopefully the other person in your lane putting out, you can really make a big difference. And the last one is any hero with incredibly high burst. Now, there isn't that many heroes in this game with just straight up burst damage with no CC at all, but there are some heroes who will feel like they can just destroy you utterly and unequivocally, and they will just wreck you and there's nothing you can do about it. And these are heroes like Nova, like Jaina, almost like Zeratul to some extent. And these are heroes that you really can't get away from, and they don't feel like they have that much CC, even if they do, but it really just comes down to the incredible amounts of burst. But as I say, a lot of heroes can noob stomp that don't fit into these things, but these are going to be the main ones that you're going to want to go with. And more specifically, when I talk about these heroes, these are the heroes I'm talking about. So these are kind of in order of power, I would say, in terms of noob stomping. So the first tier 1 is Nova, Zeratul, and Kerrigan. Now, a lot of people will argue why I've put Kerrigan in there. I think Kerrigan is quite possibly, definitely up there with Nova and Zeratul. She has the damage, she has the survivability with her shields and her traits, so she can do more aggressive plays that the other two can't. And she has the hard CC, which if you land that combo time after time, it's almost impossible to get away from. And so I think that she's up there with Nova and Zeratul, but she is lacking on the burst. But I feel that what she lacks in the burst and in the kind of ease of securing kills in the laning phase, she makes up for in spades in the later game when it comes to securing objectives and winning team fights. The second tier is Illidan and Sonya. Now, a lot of people are going to say why I've put Sonya in here. It's because she has an incredible ability to, if you build her the correct way, to be kind of a solo player, and she has just so much CC and lockdown, and she can stick to her target for a long period of time, and she does a significant amount of damage. She has that W auto chain that she can throw in, coupled with leap to engage, and then a spear to close them down after they've used their escape. It's almost impossible to get away from her properly, and then she can force them out of a team fight, and during that time she can just absolutely annihilate them, and there's nothing they can do to get away from them. Similarly, Illidan can do something similar. The difficulty with Illidan is sometimes he has a tendency to just get bursted down. But if you can avoid that, if you can engage in a favourable position multiple times, you can really start to wear away at their team incredibly quickly. And ganking isn't so strong on him. You really need a lot of assistance from your team, from the teammate that you're with. But you can have a surprising amount of success with it. But he does flourish more in the objectives and in the team fights phase. The third one, again, not a lot of people are going to agree with this one, particularly when they look at the rest of the tiers. But I think that Thrall and Tyrande are very good here. Now, the reason I say this, this isn't on one team, by the way. This isn't like if you have Nova, Zeratul, and Kerrigan on a team, you're going to Noobstomp. No. This is just if Nova's on a team, she'll be able to Noobstomp. If Zeratul's on a different team, he'll be able to Noobstomp. And these are just the power tiers. So, with Thrall and Tyrande independently, you've got that hard CC, and you have a surprising amount of damage. If Thrall can land his root instantly into Windfury, which if you get the positioning right, which a lot of people will discuss and we'll discuss in a bit. If you get the positioning right, you can go from your null position into having all your abilities on cooldown and then being at half health, and they still won't have had a chance to retreat very far if you do it incredibly well. And similarly with Tyrande, if you can land that stun and get into a position, they'll have to run all the way around you just to get home, and during the meantime you can just deal so much damage on them, and it really makes it difficult. And if you combine that with anyone else in lane, particularly if there's someone who has a surprisingly high amount of damage like a Nazeebo or a Zagara, you can really start to... they'll be on like 10% health, and once they're on 10% health, it all comes down to where their positioning is. And if you can stutter step, if both of you stutter step and get like 3 or 4 autos off as they're running away, they'll just die and there's nothing you can do about it. And you'll be amazed at how much damage you can secure, even if you can't secure kills, how much damage these two can secure if they're played correctly while they're roaming. But as I say, kind of unorthodox picks. Similarly, in the next 2 tiers, but just for the next tier for now, you'll see that the other two aren't necessarily massively unorthodox. Jaina and Kael'thas, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, they have a very high skill cap, they're two of the most powerful heroes in the game at the moment. Of course they can Noobstomp. But what I mean is again, I'm going to go back to this unorthodox pick here. They aren't the best when it comes to roaming. Their damage isn't that good. Now, while they both have CC, Jaina's in the form of a slow, Kael'thas is in the form of a stun, you will be surprised at how much damage they can just put out. So if you can land any form of CC with these guys, the chances are they'll be able to chain another CC or a stun on the back of it, or a slow, and they'll just deal incredible amounts of damage if given a few seconds. So as a result, while not necessarily in the laning phase you'll be able to take advantage of this, but in the team fighting phase and the objective phase, when you can really force the enemy team into a bottleneck, you'll really start to see the difference in skill level come out through these heroes. And at level 5, some kind of unorthodox picks just to show you how important you can get and how easy it can be to Noobstomp is I put 3 heroes down there who can really take advantage of the enemy team if they get out of position. So Stitches, he can hook people left, right and centre, and if you get hooked by Stitches, it's most likely going to be Night-Night, or at least it should be if you're a good Stitches, and if you bring them into your team, they'll just die straight away. With the Butcher, you can do something similar. You can force someone to stun, you can have an incredible amount of lockdown, and you can just burst down an entire team with a Furnace Blast. And ETC can Noobstomp through proxy. If you slide in and get an amazingly 5-man mosh pit off, and they all die. That's ETC creating that play, even though it's not necessarily ETC securing the kills. But those are just there really not as kind of a don't try and noob stomp with those two heroes. Those are there just to kind of show you what else you can expect as a noob stomper. It's not all about getting kills in the early game. Excuse me. And when it comes to noob stomping, one of the most important parts, second I would say, to picking a hero who can noob stomp is picking a target you can noob stomp. So don't go for warriors, and don't go for warriors ever. Never go for a warrior, and only very rarely go for a support. As you can see in the next slide, I've mentioned a couple of supports, but as a rule of thumb, don't really go for supports. You should only really go for assassins and specialists, and even then, be wary. This is where the knowledge of the game comes in, and this is where it's defined as noob stomping, because you should know what every hero in the game can do. If they can escape, if they can't, if they can lock you down, if they can't, if they can do anything to make your life more difficult, you need to know about that and be prepared for that when you try and target them. And as a result, you need to pick targets who can do less of that than other targets can. You need to pick a target who's more vulnerable when you can really put them under pressure than another hero will be. Also, you need... basically, over the course of the game, you can't just sit on one target and be waiting in that lane, because then you end up laning against them, and that's not what you want to do. You want to start roaming. So basically, you want to target someone who you can kill, preferably. If there's no chance of you doing it, don't be afraid to target a support or a warrior. You'll be surprised how successful you'll be. But as a rule of thumb, don't. You need to make sure that whoever you're targeting is in a vulnerable position. Most likely during the early game, that's going to be over halfway through the lane, or just trying to get a watchtower, try and secure an aggressive camp, something like that. Don't be afraid to kill the same target multiple times. Just sit in lane. If a Valor or a Reyna is constantly using Volt or Revolution Overdrive aggressively to try and secure kills, punish them. They have no escape. Make sure you get the kill, and then when they come in and you're sitting in lane and they do it again, do it again. On a map like Blackheart's Bay and Tomb of the Spider Queen, when you can see them doing that. If you're on comms with someone else in a lane against them, if you're communicating with them, you're a 2-stack or something, and you go into lane and they're like, oh, Valor's just use Volt aggressively, and you're in mid and they're in top, run up to top. They have no escape for the next like 6 seconds. You could secure a kill. It's a free kill basically. So just be aware of doing that. And similarly, be wary of their escape. If they use it, if they don't use it, the chances are they're going to try and get away from you. So make sure you use your lockdown or your pullback or your jump 2, such as in the target of Sonya. Use the spear. Kerrigan use the rake. Even Zeratul with blink sometimes. Be wary after they use their escape and be prepared to jump on them or jump away, depending on what you want to do. So, going further on into who should you target, here are some specifics. Don't take these as gospel. Don't take these as written in stone at all. These are to be taken with a very large pinch of salt. But the idea is that these are some of the people that you should target, and then anyone who's not mentioned here, you probably shouldn't target at all. So, Tier 1, you'll see that there's Zagara, Jaina, Nova, and Brightwing. As you see in my last slide, I said don't target supports. Brightwing is somewhat different. While she has a little bit of damage mitigation with the block stacks and with her blink heal, she has an incredible amount of escape. Post 10, she's surprisingly weak in the early game, and she can just be bursted down so fast. If you have any CC, you need to save it for when she tries to phase shift. If you have someone like Kerrigan and she tries to phase shift, throw your spikes underneath her, it'll either force her to cancel it or get stunned. Either way, it will cancel it. So you can really take advantage of that. With Zagara, Jaina, and Nova, Nova is most likely going to be the most difficult one. You can just spend the whole game counter ganking. It's very difficult, but you can do it. And if you see Nova out of position anywhere around the map, don't be afraid to just jump on her. Once you get in Nova's face, she tends to panic, and it's quite difficult for her to get away from you. And then once, because you'll inflict an incredible amount of damage incredibly fast, once you do that, just escape. If you put her onto half health and you've only taken like a third of your health damage, that's worth. If you do that twice, she'll be in danger of dying, and you'll be at half health. Zagara's up there. Zagara's kind of a difficult one because she can put damage on you without you really knowing about it. Do things like Hunter Killer and the Roachlings and stuff. But if you can keep an eye on her in lane, and you know she's using Hunter Killer aggressively, you can attack her when she has no abilities apart from her auto attacks on cooldown, and then if you time it right, you can just blow her up and there's nothing she can do about it. Similarly with Jaina, with Blizzard and Cone of Cold, the combo, if she's used them aggressively to try and clear a wave or to get damage on her laning partner, the person she's laning against, you will just be able to just dive on her and there's basically nothing you can do to get away from you. So those are some good heroes you should go after. 2, the second tier here, you'll see Kel'Thas. Be wary of all these heroes. The reason I put these as second is because they all have some form of CC. Kel'Thas has his stun that he can launch at you. Kerrigan has her stun that she can launch out. Nazebo has the zombie walls that will really screw you up if you're not careful. Reyna has the knockback, which can get nasty. The Butcher has his flailing axe and his charge, which I have seen a lot of people use, as well as Butcher's brand. He can quickly turn things around. If you try and gank him, you overextend a tiny bit, and all of a sudden you're at half health and he's at full. Thrall has the Wolf, Tyrande has the stun, and Rexxar has Misha, who has stun and a surprising amount of damage, actually. So be wary, but as you'll see, all these guys have CC, none of them have escape. The only one who kind of has escape is Kerrigan and Thrall, because they have the jump 2 and the speed boost. But other than that, they don't really have too much escape, so you can kind of take advantage if they find themselves out of position. And that's what you should be doing, waiting for them to get out of position and then diving on them. Tier 1, you should just be diving on them anyway as soon as they do anything. Tier 2, you need to be a little bit more cautious with this. 3. All these heroes have some form of escape. Falstad has his barrel roll, Illidan has his slide, Sergeant Hammer has boost, Sylvanas has haunting wave, Tychus has running gun, Valor has tumble, and Zerator has blink. Actually no, it's not tumble, it's Volt. Yes, tumble is the talent. All these heroes have escape. You need to be aware of this. Now, a lot of people will put these as, they'll swap the 2 and 3 around. They'll think, well, you know, they have escape, but you can take advantage of this. The reason I put 2 there is because all of those abilities can be juked. They're all either skill shots or targeted abilities. The only one that's different is the Butcher. His charge isn't. But even then, all of them have to be landed manually. They can't just be just thrown out. So, if you're ready for them, you can juke them. It can be damn near impossible, but it can be done. Whereas the 3, you can't juke them escaping. You can't juke Falstad barrel rolling through you or barrel rolling through a wall or something. You can't do it. So that's why I put them 3, because it relies on them. It relies on you taking advantage of that, whereas number 2 relies on you just juking it. If number 3, you have to rely on them screwing up, which is less likely. And at level 4, you have Asmodee and Sonya. Neither of these have any escape, but because of their incredible health pools, they are incredibly difficult to deal with. Everyone else who's not on this list is going to be very difficult for you to kill. They're either going to have an incredible hard amount of escape. People like Tyrael, who is the throw and go, and he just has a lot of HP to begin with, and everyone else has just a ridiculous amount of HP, so don't really go after them too hard. Excuse me. So, at the very start of the game, in the laning phase, you'll find yourself roaming, or you should be. If you're not roaming, you're doing it wrong. You're not playing a noob stomper if you try and just lane against someone. The only times this is different is when you're playing on Haunted Mines, because things can be incredibly difficult there. It's actually almost impossible to noob stomp during the laning phase of Haunted Mines. But it can be done. You can take advantage of them, but don't expect for it to happen too much. Don't expect to just kind of walk over and stomp on them in Haunted Mines. But in other maps, roam, keep an eye on the minimap, use the minimap all the time. If you see someone at your cannon towers, run up to them. Doesn't matter who it is, even if it's a warrior. They are so overextended at that point that if you are anyone who's overextended, as I see here, gank anyone who's overextended. If they're at your cannon towers and they're auto-attacking or they're using abilities on them, go up to them and gank, and make sure you ping that you're on the way so someone else can get there as well. And this is very important. You need to make sure that your team knows where you are. I mentioned this a lot, but I want to mention this in the laning phase. You need to ping that you're on the way, ping that you're retreating, ping like if someone's retreating out of lane and the person in your lane who's laning against them decides to stop and take out minions, that's fine, but you need to ping that you're going to the hero. That way they can know that you're there, and if they need to, they can hop in and try and get some kills, or they can help you if you have to escape. A lot of that can happen, and you'll die if you don't do that a surprising amount. So in the laning phase, you need to inflict damage any way you can. If no one's overextended, if everyone's just sitting in the middle of the lane, don't be afraid to just go back to the priority list, look at the person who's highest up on the priorities, and then just damage them. Land your combo on them, do big damage, and then just force them to use a fountain. Forcing a fountain is almost as good as death. I agree that it's better than death at level 1. At level 1, they'll be dead for 10 seconds, and they'll be back in lane with full health after giving you the experience reward of 1 creep. And that's it. Like, you're 1 creep ahead. Big deal. If you force them to use a fountain, that's 100 seconds when they cannot use fountain. They have to hearth. In that time, they're probably going to lose 1 or 2 creep if you force them to hearth away at some point. They're probably going to lose 1 or 2 creeps in experience, and then you've already gained more than you would have done by killing them at level 1. So I believe at level 1, forcing them to use a fountain is straight up better than getting a kill. At this point in the game, you have to spot who's aggressive, who's weak, who's inexperienced, who's not the best player. When you spot this person, don't be afraid to be like, right, I'm going after Jaina, I'm going after Falstad, I'm going after anyone. Don't be afraid to just say, this is the person I'm going after, go after them. As I say, Gank any overextended lanes, and this is quite an important part that really separates the good noob stompers from the really bad noob stompers, and really separates the great noob stompers quite significantly. Someone on your team dies, someone on your team gets ganked and or overextends, or lags, or does something and finds himself at no HP. And they have to hearth back because their healing fountain's on cooldown, or because it's not worth it. Whatever, they have to hearth back. You, as a roamer, have an incredible advantage here if you can just sit in lane and get experience. Don't damage them. Just sit in the minion wave, and then when they're back in lane, you can either go for an aggressive gank, a face gank, which is what I like to call, where they know you're there and you just jump on them. You can do that, or you can just leave lane. If you don't do this, you're going to find yourself behind in experience quite significantly, and if you do this, you're going to find yourself just on an even playing field all the time, and that's really where you want to be. It's very difficult as a noob stomper to claw back a lead, but once you have a lead or once you're level, you can really accelerate ahead. In the objective phase, this is normally when the first objective spawns, like the Haunted Mines open, the temples activate, or the tribute spawns, something like that. You need to make sure you're with your team. Not necessarily in your team, like you're the centerpiece of the 5-man squad, but you need to make sure that you're not at top lane killing creeps when all your team is team fighting at bottom. This is what I'm talking about. You need to make sure that you are in with your team doing the same idea. If they're fighting for the tribute, you need to be fighting for the tribute. If you can see someone who's not in a very good position, who is in the jungle and does not have the protection of either their team or the cannon towers, try and pick them off. If you put them onto half HP, onto a third HP, onto anything, and then you take barely no damage, it's so unbelievably worth it. At this point, you need to be looking to get kills by chasing people down, going to your priority list, looking to start picking people off and start really punishing people for any mistakes they make. But most importantly is don't abandon your team. Falstad's at 20% HP, he's running away. Great. Chase him for a little bit. If you have a gap closer, land it. Like if you have a Ravage or something, or you have your Spear or your Blink or whatever, land it. If you don't land it, don't chase after him. Let him go. Make sure you secure the objective and then look to get other kills. Look to get kills as a priority, and what I mean by this is don't sit at the back and click the tribute to channel it. No. You need to be in the team fight, getting those kills, dealing that damage. But if someone runs off, and if someone flees on 20% HP, try and kill them, but if you miss a skill shot or they juke it or they use a crazy escape or something, don't be afraid to just right, that's it, let's go back to the team fight. Don't abandon them under any circumstances. So, team fighting. Now this is where things get complicated and where people other than Zeratul and Nova, Zeratul and Nova are incredibly good team fighters, but they really shine outside of team fighting, but the other people I was talking about will really start to come through. So basically, what you'll see is, if you've looked at this stuff before, you'll see quite a lot of people talk about getting in the back line and wrecking them. What that means is you're playing someone like Illidan, or like Sonya, or even like Kerrigan, and basically you see one person. Normally for me, the person I really go after is either Falstad or Falstad, Valor, or Reyna. They're my three most, like, yeah, I can kill these people really easily. Because they don't have that much burst, and so they can't really turn things around at all. And as opposed to people like Kel'Thas and Jaina, where they can really put you on, like, all of a sudden they have a HP lead, and you don't understand how it's happened. So I really like going after Valor, Falstad, and Reyna. And basically, what I would do is I would sit, you can try and hide if you want, but what I like to do is I like to use, if I'm playing as Kerrigan or Sonya or anyone who's not a stealther, is kind of sit with my team, and then as soon as I see them on the enemy team, as soon as I see the person that I'm going on, flank from a favourable position. Don't just run through the team fight, you will die. Go around, jump on that person, and then just blow them up as quickly as possible. And at this point, and this is where noob stomping really comes in, because if you're really noob stomping them and you can noob stomp them, their team will either abandon them or they will run away from their team or whatever. And you can just land your combo, land your ganking combo, and then you kill them, and then you can just run back in and kill the next person. You can just work your way down the priority list until you kill everyone on your team. That's what you do, and you'll be surprised how incredibly effective it is. If you're playing Sonya and you take Leap, you can just run behind a bush, jump over the bush, land on Falstad, and then just start seismic slam. He barrel rolls away, you spear to him, seismic slam, and he's dead. And you're at full HP almost most of the time. And then you can just run back in the team fight, because during this duration, it's basically been a 4v4, and now all of a sudden it's a 5v4. You know, so this is where noob stomping really comes into effect. They're not experienced at the game. They're not amazingly good at the game. You take advantage of it and do this kind of stuff. Don't be afraid to leave. Don't be afraid to just think, oh, I'm not going to get this kill. The person's run into their keep or whatever. or they manage to gank and flank me and they put me on half health, don't be afraid to just run away to get a healing fountain or to even hearth and then come back in. And one of the big things that is good, and this is the kind of thing that I did brush on previously, but I'm going to go back to it here, is if you can force them away from a fight, like they just run away and abandon them, like I said with the Falstad example, that's good. And then if you force him to take flight or to barrel roll over a wall or something, that's good. But what can happen, and this is devastating when it does happen, is they can just run back in the fight, and all of a sudden when you've been taking hits and your team is on about half health and you haven't really secured that many kills, which can happen sometimes, that you just luck just doesn't go your way and they manage to get away with like 2 or 3 of them, and then all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 of them versus 2 or 3 of you and one of them's at full health. It's just that can be really bad, and that's why killing them is always better. If you can secure the kill so that they're not going to come back in the fight at full health, it's incredibly good. But as I say, don't be afraid to leave. It's all about practice and all about getting that kind of priority in your head, when to go and when not. After the laning phase, and this is in between the objective phase and the team fights, look to secure aggressive camps if you have a lead, and this is where Noobstomping really comes through. A lot of Noobstompers have quite a difficult time of actually finishing out the game. You can secure forts, you can even get a keep or 2, but they can just defend, and it's actually incredibly difficult for you to do anything. So what I like to do is, if you get a kill or 2, or you're level 10 and they're not because you've got an experienced lead, just secure an aggressive camp. Take the boss. Take a night camp. Just do something. Take an aggressive camp to force them on the back foot to make it easier for you to pick the next fight on your own terms. When you don't have an advantage, secure your own camps, take safe objectives, start doing damage, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about doubloon camps, I'm talking about what's it called? Siege giants, all that kind of stuff. Just make sure you've got everywhere and you're laning if you have to, all that kind of stuff. You're just doing safe things, you're not taking any risks. Anyone who goes alone, if they're taking a watchtower or if they're trying to scout where you are, kill them. Anyone. I mean, that could be Diablo. It doesn't matter, just kill them. Like, don't spend too long doing it, especially if you're on your own and you don't know where they are. But if you know someone's on their own, someone like a Valar or something, someone you can just blow up, particularly if you have some friends, that's what I'm saying here, if you get backup, if you can just say like, oh hey look, this person's here, on the way, assistance, this is where you ping on the way and then you ping for assistance, and then you go up as Kerrigan and you've got Jaina with you, and then you land the combo, oh look, she's dead, oh look, it's a 4v5 now for the next minute or so. Just incredibly, just so strong when that happens. So really look to do that and really look to take advantage, and that's again part of Noobstomping. That person obviously isn't very good at the game, isn't very experienced at the game. They push out when they shouldn't do, and they get punished for it, and then the whole team gets punished for it. What happens if they're all incredibly good? If for some reason, like, so what can happen in team fights is you can jump on someone, but then they run into their team, or their team pulls back and just blows you up and kills you, or they just don't die. They out-trade you and they beat you for skill shots. You try and do a gank, but they just seem to always get away from you, stuff like that. What happens if that happens? Just keep trying it. Don't give up on it. If you can secure them to take fountains all the time when they don't want to, and you don't have to, that's worth it for you. As I say, don't die. It sounds stupid, and I'll say this a lot, but if you can just trade HP, it's normally better for you than it is for the person you're trading HP with. Because you can just hearth and they can't, and then they've still got to deal with the person in lane who's at full HP. So it's good for them. Look to secure ambushes, sit in bushes, sit on camps, sit on turning points or objective stuff like that. Try and take out a couple of them if you can, and just don't take any risks. If you have no advantage, don't go for that aggressive boss. If you have no advantage, don't go for the tribute. If you are behind, if they have level 10, don't team fight them. Stuff like that. Just don't do stuff like that. So a lot of people have a struggle to finding out where they need to be to really take full advantage. And basically, what I've sussed it out to over the last months of playing as trying to really take advantage of Noobstomping is you have to use the minimap. If you see a red or an orange portrait at your cannon tower, kill them. I don't care who it is. Even if you can't kill them, even if you put them onto like 5% HP, 1% HP, and they get away, fine. But if they're overextended and you don't go after them, then you're not really going to do very well. Use the priority list, because if all of your lanes are getting shoved to absolute hell, use the priority list and take them down in order. Don't be afraid to switch lanes. If you're trying to take out a Falstad or whatever and you're really having trouble with it, and then there's a Nazebo in mid lane who looks like he's overextended, who looks like he's not the best, don't be afraid to just switch target and just start going after him. And most importantly, respond to pings. If someone in top lane says, I need help, this guy's wrecking me, I need help, go up there and help him. Or he's shoving the lane, please someone come help me, go to him. Even if it's a Stitches or a Diablo, go there. It's still a team game, you're not a carry, you're just someone who can really push an advantage here. You really can't afford to just try and run it on your own. You really have to work with the team. When your team says I need help, you need to be there to help them. One of the things that a lot of people have a problem with is actually getting the kill. Now, a lot of these people that I said before, people like Kerrigan, Zeratul, Nova, all these people, Illidan, Sonya, all these people have an attacking order or a combo. Kerrigan's is obviously the Q, and then wait for them to run around you a little bit, and then throw down the stun and pull them back into the stun. You need to get that right, and similarly with Sonya, you need to be getting the attack, auto combo down, and with Illidan, the slide and dive combo to make sure that you're body blocking them as much as possible. Stuff like that. You need to make sure that you can do that and you can pull that off at will, and that takes practice. You're not just going to get that overnight. So make sure that you're good at that. Go into quick matches, go into training dummy games, and just practice it. Practice getting the most, because now they have a training dummy when the new PTR comes out. Just practice getting the most damage you can. Never, and I cannot say this enough, never ever dive a tower. Unless you're not diving it, unless there's like loads of minions around it, or a boss is on it, or just whatever. Never dive a tower that's shooting. You will just die. You don't have the HP, you don't have the survivability most of the time of a warrior, and the attack speed and movement speed slow that the tower will give you is just so ridiculous. Don't do it. Now, if they run away from a team fight, if you know where the enemy team is, don't be afraid to chase after them. As I said before, particularly if they're not a very bursty hero and you can really deal a lot of damage very, very quickly, don't be afraid to just stick on them all the time. But if you can't see where the enemy team is, if you're just chasing them, if you see someone overextended and you chase them, don't chase them into the fog report. You'll find that you'll come up against one or two of the enemy team and you'll be really quickly outnumbered, and then you'll die. And what came out of, oh look, they're out of position, let's kill them, turned into you were out of position and you got killed. And most importantly, I would say, is land your skill shots. Things like the Q on Sonya's spear. You need to land that. You need to land the Kerrigan combo. You can't miss blink. You can't miss snipe. Stuff like that. You'll just end up dying and not really getting the kill when you really, really should do. Now, when you're in a position where you're being noob stomped, or you find yourself feeling like you're getting noob stomped time after time, here's a few tips on how to avoid it. Play safe. Stand in your minion wave. Don't stand out of it. Don't stand anywhere else. Stand in your minion wave. Move up a little bit to get experience, but don't take any risks. Don't sit in a position where they can just come up and gank you and you're so far away from your cannons that there's no chance of you getting it. The only way you can do this is if you use the minimap and see where they are. So if you see, oh hey look, Zeratul and Nova are both down at bottom lane and I've killed the guy in my lane in a one-on-one, I can push the towers for about 10 seconds. That's fine. But other than that, don't do that kind of stuff. No risks. What I mean by that is, don't take a mercenary camp when everyone's alive and they can just come down and kill you. That will just be dumb. Don't be afraid to play patiently, and when the lane's getting shoved, deal with it in the middle and not under their tower. Make sure it comes to you, and then you deal with it in a more defensive position. That's fine. And last and most importantly, use the minimap. Make sure you know where they are, and don't do the classic trick of oh, I'm getting killed, I need to run away, and then you end up running away from everyone, your entire team, during a team fight. And whenever you can, make sure that you land your skill shots to escape, things like stuns, to escape, and time your escapes well. If you know that an Illidan is going to dive and slide you, when both of those abilities are on cooldown, that's just so he slides you, gets a body block, you run away, dives you, gets a body block, then you use your escape. If you don't, he'll just dive on you again. Stuff like that. You need to time your escapes really, really well. And a lot of the thing that you still need to keep in mind, a lot of what you still need to remember is it's still a team game. Just because you can secure a lot of kills and you can make a lot of plays when they're without you, they wouldn't have been there, doesn't mean you're the MVP. The MVP can still just be the auto attack assassin who just gets twice the amount of hero damage you do because you can protect them because of what you're doing. It doesn't make you like able to win the game on your own. You still can't. You still need to work as a team. You still need to make sure that everything goes as it would do. Otherwise, And one of the most important things is you need to make sure that your team knows what you're doing and where you are. Now, this seems stupid, but as I said before, you need to ping that you're on the way to a lane, you need to ping that you're attacking this person, you need to ping that you're retreating, all this kind of stuff. You really need to let your team know exactly what you're doing as often as you can. If they know where you are, they can protect you. If they don't know where you are, they can't. And if they can't protect you and you die, that's your fault. And as a noob stomper, you shouldn't be dying that easy. Also, don't be afraid to attack a warrior or to take someone out. What I found myself doing a lot is when someone's overextended, you can cover them because you can be overextended a little bit more, and because of the situation you're in, if you have blink or you have an escape, you can get out of it. If you have CC, you can get out of it and that kind of thing, and they can't. Don't be afraid to just throw that down, just to help them out a little bit. And it's not all about kills. If you can take someone down to low HP, and that means, oh hey look, they have no chance of being there for this objective, or you can push them away from a boss and then steal it while getting no kills, but you get the boss, it's still going to be more efficient or more worth it than if you get a kill. But thanks for watching. That will be the end of it. If you want to noob stomp, play the game enough, play a hero that you're comfortable with, and play the right hero. You're not going to noob stomp as Chen. Play the right hero. If you practice them a lot, you'll find yourself just getting so many kills. Remember to leave, if you feel I've left anything out, or I've just done something wrong, or you disagree with me, leave a comment and let me know. If you have liked this video, please remember to subscribe, and thanks again for watching. It's been great. If you did like this kind of video, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. Thanks for watching again. I have been Mr. G, and I will see you next time.